I love a good success story. I absolutely adore it. There's nothing more in this world that excites me than to hear somebody that has had this incredible transformation. And lo and behold, we have a brand new story to tell today. With that, we welcome Starla Maurer to the show. Welcome, Starla.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let me start by saying that your energy is just infectious.
It is. I'm always hyper.
Let me describe Starla here for those of you who are listening to this on the podcast, and then I would encourage you also to go take a look on YouTube. Starla has a bevy of tattoos on her arm, both arms, including a dog paw and vegan. I love that on the right forearm. It says vegan with the little leaf there.
Oh yeah.
You were all the way up the arm. Why don't you just go with the full sleeve, Starla?
I'm thinking about it. I'm going to do one side holistic medicine and the other side vegan. Now, everybody knows.
That is commitment right there.
It is.
And it wasn't always like that for you, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
So talk to me before we get into your transformation and all of that. What led you to the point where you actually did need to make this change?
Well, I initially started in about 2011. I had gone to the doctor, and she was like, and this was before I had come here to Barnard Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone to the doctor, and they were like, your weight is up, your cholesterol's up, this is up, that's up. And I went through medication after medication after medication, and each medication they put me on for blood pressure, I would get sick. I got sick. I swelled up. They were giving me medication for hormones, just you name it. And I just sort of went through all of this. And I thought, well, let me just take meat out of my diet. So in 2011, I took meat out of my diet.
That was just a spur of the moment thing. Did you read anything online?
Yeah, I have over the years. And, I've read, in the 90s, Dr. Dean Ornish. I read his book, Reversing Heart Disease. Mm-hmm. And so I just went ahead and thought, well, let me just take meat out of my diet and see how that works. It was just meat.
Okay, so we left the dairy in there.
I left the dairy and the eggs. And really there was very little change, but I thought I was doing something okay.
Okay.
So then as time went on, that's when I actually had shoulder surgery.
Oh.
I'm a fitness instructor, so I picked up my dog. Really big dog.
That's how you're a fitness instructor and you injure your shoulder picking up your dog.
Well, he was an 80-pound pit bull, and he was my baby, and he had a stroke, so he had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, no.
So I took him outside. So I lifted him back up, and I heard this pop, and I thought, well, that doesn't sound good. It's probably going to hurt later. So I ended up having shoulder surgery. It was
the rotator cuff?
Rotator cuff, biceps tendon, and the biceps.
Oh, you did a number on yourself.
I did. It was awesome.
Wow.
Just awesome. So I saw this advertisement when I was in, recovering for, go completely vegan. And I would tell people that I was vegan-ish. Or a chegan, vegan until you cheat. So one of the two. So I decided to come in here and see all about it. Now, in the meantime, I had changed over to Barnard Clinic. And the first thing the doctor said when I went in there, she was like, well, why are you taking this medication? I don't know. That's what they told me to take, for blood pressure. Sure. And she says, well, this is, great for prostate and blood pressure. And I said, all I remember saying to her was, well, I guess my prostate's fixed. So I was just like, wow, these people are really, Barnard Clinic really took the time. They did an EKG. They checked everything. They knew I was fit, but it was like everything else just kept falling apart. So when I saw this opportunity to be a part of the study, I thought, well, let's do it. So
let's talk about that study. It was the TEF study. So you see
Yes.
this, and what were you being studied for?
Well, initially here, I was being studied for the effects of low-fat vegan diet and metabolism. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. I was also accepted into the study at the same time. Yale University was asking for some of us if we would consider going to Yale, and it was basically you just laid in an MRI machine. But it was a really small machine.
You're claustrophobic, are you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I mean, I was in there and I just said play music, and they were way cool about it. So and that was the effects of low-fat vegan diet on A1C and type 2 diabetes. Now, I didn't have those, but my A1C was like knocking on diabetes' door.
Okay, you're right there.
So I was right there.
Okay.
So the way they did it was we went in and everybody did the initial study. Lay under the tent, look at and I just about had a stroke when I saw, because when they were doing the body scan, all you see is this little blob. And I was like, oh my God, is that me? Oh. But I went out and I guess it's a random pick. So I opened my paper and Dr. Hannah happened to be standing there. And of course, I'm the only one jumping up and down going, woohoo, I get to be vegan. So we were dancing in a circle, just jumping around. So I was really excited. So being an overachiever, I started the diet the following week, especially after I got my test results, all the blood work and everything that came in the mail. I just panicked. I just flipped out when I saw how bad it was.
Let's talk about that. What did you see that really concerned you so much?
It was the A1C. I was 0.1 I guess, unit away from having to go on medication. And I just thought, oh no. And my cholesterol was up, which it's never been. And obviously I was taking 2 kinds of blood pressure medications, and it was...
Two. Wow.
Yeah. So it was really, and I'm still teaching fitness classes, but I just was always tired. And, my father had high blood pressure, and I just remember he would sleep all the time, and I just thought, I can't do this.
What was your blood pressure? Do you remember? Uncontrolled?
Uncontrolled. Yeah. It was 179 over 119. Yeah. It's a little up there.
Just a skosh.
I had a little bit of a headache.
Just a skosh. Mine was like that in high school when I was, I really wasn't doing much in terms of exercise at that particular time. And then over the years, obviously, I continued to get heavier. But I remember, I was already gorging on fast food once, twice a day. And my blood pressure was like 180 over 110, 115, somewhere in the same ballpark. And they put me on beta blockers when I was still in high school.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's nuts.
So I completely understand your eyes just kind of like popping off the paper that day and then wanting to get your BP under control. But 2 medications, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And was that working for you?
It was working. And obviously it was, it was here at Barnard Clinic that they put me on the 2, and the doctor said, you've got to get all the oils and get the fat out of your diet. And I thought oils, okay, it was never dawned on me. Dairy.
Oh, right.
Dairy. Dairy was the magic component. So, but it was really bad. So it was a mess.
So you come to the study. Let's flash forward to, just a couple years ago now. You come to the study. You've just gotten this paperwork. A1C is not just knocking on the door. It's open it. You got your foot through it. Like you're right there.
Right.
Talk to me about this change. Talk to me about day one when you set foot in there. Like, were you skeptical about what was going to happen?
No, I was excited.
Okay.
No, the first thing I did when I decided to do this was I was like, let's commemorate this. Well, I'm going to get a tattoo. So I tattooed vegan on my arm.
And you did.
And I did.
And this was before you finished the study?
Yes.
Wow, you are all in.
I was all in. That was it. I realized then that I was heading down a path. In life, you sort of reach a crossroads and you're like, I can either do this or take the harder road and really make that change. And I knew I was ready to make the change. I was just...
Yeah, you got the tattoo.
So I got the tattoo. So now I can't go back. No,
right.
I would never go back. But I decided to get the tattoo. But it was, if you can ever go and watch the first day of a study, when Dr. Barnard comes in and, he's just so cute. And everybody's in love with him. So he comes in and he starts saying what we can.
I can see him blushing right now.
Well, nobody ever wants to disappoint him because he gets a look. He's this look like, oh, you had a mistake this week? No, we don't do mistakes. And you never want to let him down, so.
No, he completely understands. No, let's not. No. He understands. Like,
He does
just
understand.
did the show on food addiction, and he's like, people, we are set up to fail. And if you do fail, it's not necessarily your fault.
No,
it's not a look of disappointment.
No,
it's like you feel shame, like because you don't want to let him down.
That's right. I don't want to.
I guarantee you, he's not disappointed in you.
Well, he's like when he walks into a room, I just hear, oh.
Again, he's blushing.
So, but when he walked in and he told everyone what we could and couldn't have to eat. The minute he said, and no avocados, you would have thought somebody let off a nuclear bomb in there, because the girl next to me turned around and Kelsey said, what are we going to eat? And so, and I had already started.
Right.
So being the overachiever. And I just laughed. And it was, I just thought, look, we're just not going to mess this up. We're just going to do it. Guys, we'll just find a way around it. Okay. And we did.
So there wasn't a food that you were concerned about leaving behind, because
absolutely not.
What the fellow participant was saying is not uncommon at all. I mean, we hear all the time, like, I would go on this diet. I would be completely plant-based, if not for cheese, if not for chicken nuggets, whatever that one thing is that people think that they can't live without. You didn't have that.
No, I didn't.
Wow.
Because I knew that my options were... And people will tell you, when you start taking medications, the only thing that happens is you take more.
Yeah.
And there's no turning back at some point. And I knew that the only way to be healthy and to prove to people that this is what really works is to stay completely plant-based. So it wasn't a thought of, oh, what am I missing? It was like, oh my God, look what I can eat. And the best part is I don't weigh or measure anything. I just eat. That's my favorite.
Isn't that the best? We just did a show called Eat More, Weigh Less, and it's about the plant-based diet and how like you don't have to count those calories, because there are so fewer calories in plants than there are in your animal proteins and your animal products. Like, it's just not even close. And oil. I mean,
oil's the worst.
Yeah.
Oil was really, and of course people were like, well, what about coconut oil? Okay, it's oil.
Yeah.
9 grams of fat is 9 grams of fat is 9 grams of fat.
Look at you.
So
look at you.
I know. It's star pupil.
I love it. Really, that's why you got to talk to Starla, the star pupil.
Yeah.
So
it absolutely, and it made a huge difference. And the thing is what people don't understand is, yes, if you go plant-based, but if you pull the fat out, you can taste your food.
Yeah.
And that's what people are looking for, is when they get that first bite of food, they're looking for that taste, and it's there. If you take the garbage out of the way you fix it, the oils and the added fats and all this other stuff, then you can taste your food and you can decide what you like. And we tried, there were so many things and they would give us like these little snack things up there. I think there was only one thing I didn't like, and it was something that I've never liked before. It was a brownie. I don't like brownies.
Again, you're an anomaly.
I also don't like chocolate chip cookies or ice cream. So
who is this person? I have no idea who you are right now.
I know, a freak.
I love it. I love it.
But the other half to my story,
there we go,
is while I was in the study, I think I was in the 3rd week, and my husband was complaining about back pain. So went to urgent health, and they were like, urgent care, whatever. They said, oh, you probably have kidney stones. And he was like, okay. So gets the medication. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. So it was our anniversary. Now, mind you, I'd called the restaurant before and talked to the kitchen staff and said, hey, I'm a low-fat vegan. I'm in this study. I really need to be particular on what I eat. Can I sort of order something ahead? Oh, sure. So Rick and I were supposed to go out. Rick's my husband. We were supposed to go out to dinner that night. And he was walking around that day, and he was gray. Now, gray's not a good color for, someone. So he went to the emergency room. They did some checking, and they said, we seem to, we think that your appendix is leaking. You're going to have to stay and do surgery. The next day, they ran a bunch of tests, and it's bad when your friends are in the CT room with your husband, and they won't look at you when you walk in.
Oh.
And I knew exactly what it was. And they had it up on the screen. He had colon cancer, and the cancer had broke through the colon wall and was spilling into his abdomen.
Wow.
And so the surgeon said, we're going to give him a colostomy the next day. And I was so flipped out, I didn't know what to do because it was so funny. I thought, I'm going to miss my class. You can't miss classes. And so I was worried about him, and I was worried about, what was going on. But, if he was going to have cancer, it couldn't have happened at a better time, because everything I learned in my classes transferred to him. Mm-hmm. And the type of chemotherapy he was doing, which was, it's oxaliplatin and 5-FU. Oxaliplatin side effects are you can't eat or drink anything cold. Mm-hmm. So it was all warm. Mm-hmm. You had to drink warm, you had to eat warm. And as we went on, Rick started not being able to taste meat. So more and more, he started to eat what I was eating, and realized he could taste the food that I ate, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and no, it wasn't 100% organic. We got what we could get that was organic. And, sometimes we did frozen stuff, and cook it and things. And so he was able to taste that. Dr. Barnard, God love him, he called and said, bring him to class. When he's feeling better, bring him to class. Mm-hmm. So he came to a couple classes with me and realized that we started realizing in the infusion center, first of all, it shocked me to my core, which is why I will always stay vegan. I will always tell people, anyone who asks why I'm vegan, the first thing I offered him in the infusion unit, mind you, all these people in this room sitting around hooked up to all this medication going through their bodies, they're trying to live. They gave him a cheeseburger, potato chips, soda, tea with white sugar. I just thought, wow. And so you don't want to, I'm someone who, yes, I'm wild and crazy, but I don't want to complain, especially in that situation. And I said, well, is there anything else? And they said, oh, well, he can have a salad. And they brought in this salad as long as he ate it before it was, before it was time for the oxaliplatin to infuse. And it was covered with ham and salami.
Is it one of those chef salads?
One of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it a different salad, but it's a chef salad.
I think I know. Same first syllable.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So, and it was covered in like some sort of creamy dressing. So I finally told my study group, I said, I'm furious, and my voice was shaking, and Dr. Barnard was like, what, Dr. Barnard and Dr. Hannah were there, and they did know, because they knew I was going to miss 1 week. Then that was the week he was in the hospital.
Right.
And so I said, why are these people fighting for their lives? And why is a hospital and people in this field feeding them? Are they creating repeat customers? And that's exactly what they were doing. Mm-hmm. So Rick and I started, and if you ever go into an infusion unit, it's not as deep and dark as you think it is. It's sort of like a little party, because everybody knows everyone's story. They're all doing the same thing. You guys are all, fighting for your lives. And so it was, people would laugh and joke. And one time they had music blasting, and I jumped up, started to dance around. And so it's not that bad, but people were saying, why isn't he sick? And I'm like, oh, well, what are you eating? Oh my gosh, what you're eating, it smells so good. What are you eating? Why don't you look sick? Why doesn't he look sick? And so finally I started telling them. Also, I was doing holistic medicine, which my holistic side said, feed seasonally. You eat seasonally. You eat warm foods, which is what he needed to do. And you eat plant-based.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did.
Right.
He never got sick, never lost his hair. We continued to walk. We walked 5 miles 4 or 5 times a week, the two of us.
Good for you.
And I was still, repairing the shoulder.
Right.
So that's exactly what we did. And so I can say with a smile, my husband is vegan.
Outstanding. And how's he doing today?
He is 100% cancer-free. He had his colostomy was reversed this past November. He's lost 73 pounds.
Good for him.
And he it was funny when he would go through the treatment, he would be hollering, I don't want to do this. It's, because it is rough. But I would say, oh, stop it. 4-year-olds do this.
Yeah.
So last June, I decided to ride my bike to raise money for children's cancer. And this is another side effect of being vegan. I'm 57 years old. My recovery time is this.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes.
It's nothing. I rode my bike in the month of June and taught 8 to 10 classes a week of aerobics and rode 807 miles and raised almost $2,000 just myself for children's cancer.
Look at you go.
I know. It was great.
That's fantastic.
And the thing is I'm fueled by plants, and I will tell everyone I'm fueled by plants.
If you liked what you just saw, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Leave us a nice comment below. And oh, by the way, the full interview is available on our podcast, which is on Apple Podcast. It's on Spotify. It's on Stitcher. Just look for the Exam Room Podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee.